So I just spent the beginning part of my day watching. Well, first I watched The Princess Bride, which was amazing. I saw it on my YouTube Shorts, and I was like, I have to watch a movie, and it was amazing because, well, everyone in that movie is a diva. It's a really grand, fun, whimsical time. And then I subsequently watched Forrest Gump, specifically for the purposes of this video, because like whenever I think of Forrest Gump, I watched Forrest Gump before a long, long time ago, but the sentiment that I got, it kept on popping in my head. I was like, Forrest Gump really feels like a Miyazaki movie. And the reason why I think that is because Forrest Gump, from the very first scene of the movie, seems to be an anointed character. And this is not very subtextual. He goes throughout the film doing these amazing tasks that seem to be handed to him in such a way that he seems to be like a sort of a folk hero. But I'm sort of jumping ahead. From the very first scene in the movie, there's a feather, a transient feather that falls to his feet. And I feel that this is sort of representative of, this anointing that was given to him. And then at the end of the movie, that same feather flies away, flies to the screen, sort of passing on that anointment to you, the person watching the movie. Anyway, uh, people have talked about this before, but Forrest Gump is basically sort of exploring the polar relationship of the culture of Americana, going through the Vietnam War and the Black Panther movement and the crack epidemic, while also sort of like looking at the soaring heights of the public relations of America and, how it presented itself to the world and the achievements that it had. Uh, and it sort of places Forrest Gump in this sequence of these amazing acts that America has done, and he was a representative of that, through luck and through his ability to run. He had these two figures in his life, his mother and Jenny, and they gave him, these two sort of rules to live by. Stupid is as stupid does. As a reflection against, the idea that someone may call him a stupid. And then Jenny, very simply, run, Forrest, run. He ran, and with that, he got all these amazing gifts throughout his life. Anyway, of the reason that I sort of think of Forrest Gump as a Miyazaki movie is the light is flickering and it's freaking me out. It's about to die, so I'm going to speed this up. The reason I think of it as a Miyazaki movie is because Jenny goes through this, and is there really a value judgment that the movie textually makes on the life and going on of Jenny? She sort of goes through it, and then she comes back to Forrest, and then she says, "This is your kid, Forrest." Do we know for sure that that is Forrest's kid? No, we don't. That's sort of the point. She knows that Forrest would be the safest place for her kid because she knows that she's about to die. And that's just how it goes. Jenny, from the beginning of her life, had a very, very rough. This is something that's subtextual, but like, you can read between the lines, if you've watched a movie or two, she was sexually abused by her father. And, this causes her to have like an adverse relationship with men throughout her entire life. So like at the end of the movie, she's like, well, here it is. This is me. Uh, here's my son, like this man that has been like eternally loyal to me, Forrest. He will be the one that I can reliably give my son to, and then he can ensure that I'll give him a good life. The sort of binding, point of this thesis that I have is that sort of wink and a nod, frank representation without a very firm value judgment on what is happening in the respective films. For example, and as a kid, I watched Spirited Away all the time on my Walkman. I downloaded it and I watched it before I went to bed almost every night as a kid. And after some time, I was like, wow, Chihiro really doesn't. She doesn't care about No Face. She sees him as an inconvenience, honestly. Like, if you watch that scene where she's saying bye to everybody, she says bye to the witch, and then she says bye to Kahaku. Yeah, obviously she doesn't say bye to No Face because he's an inconvenience, and then he was just coming along for the ride. She gave him away. She said, "Good riddance." Thankfully, finally. Same thing for Porco Rosso. Porco Rosso's a little more straightforward. Um, like, why was he turned into a pig? Is it because he was cursed by a witch? Well, no. The most likely answer is just that it was survivor's guilt. And then lastly, what was it? The Wind Rises. Just that relationship that movie has with the war in relation to um, the main character's love of plane making. Like, for what end is this love of his craft being made? Like, it's like, what are we to glean from the fact that his love is being, perverted for the sake of, war and destruction? Well, it's a fact of life. Is it good? Is it bad? Well, it is what it is, and you're along for the ride. You see his passion. You see the flames, the absolute sort of firestorm of both his love for his wife and the passion for his craft throughout the entirety of the movie, and this relationship he has with just the impermanence and transience of like what is very eminently happening, in particular with respects to his wife and her tuberculosis. So it's just like all those things are sort of just under the wraps. It's not so hard to read, but like at the same time, you sort of have to, you know, look a little deeper into the text